The following is a presentation of TFNN. Mindful Living with Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien.
Sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044. Now, Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien.
Namaste and welcome to Mindful Living, everybody. It's Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien here with you today, and we are so grateful that you've joined us today because we want to help you get healthy, feel good, and live life to the fullest every single day.
No doubt.
And today's conversation is important to every single man and every woman with a man in your life, because today we're talking about prostate health, and more importantly, prostate disease in the form of prostate cancer. So it's interesting because prostate cancer is more prevalent than I even realized. It happens to be the way I lost my grandfather on my mom's side.
Okay.
And thankfully, technology has come a long way to help heal and cure prostate disease. But interestingly, other than skin cancer, prostate cancer is the most common cancer in American men and the second leading cause of cancer death in American men, behind only lung cancer.
Really?
Yeah.
And they don't, only 30,000 people die of it.
It is interesting. Well, interestingly, and we'll talk to, obviously, a leading urologist, if not the leading urologist in the world today, Dr.
Right.
Ronald Wheeler. But interestingly, it's a disease which, if caught early, is quite preventable. So he's going to talk to us today about risk factors, common causes, what to look for, when to get tested, and more importantly, about the leading technology being used today to prevent the disease and heal the disease.
I was really psyched when they said we're going to do the show because, there's a lot of controversy.
Yes.
Well, in my own head there is.
Yes,
okay?
yes.
About, will the cancer kill you? Will the treatment kill you?
Right.
Or to just, leave it and, c'est la vie.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I do know what you
Yeah.
mean, and I think that's why it's going to be so fascinating to speak with him, because the technology or procedure that he's performing, known as HIFU,
Yes.
is not yet approved in the United States. But as you'll hear him say, it is seemingly the safest technology being used to combat the disease today. And so it's approved outside of the United States. But I'm curious, why is it not approved here yet? So he can answer those questions.
It's called the $2 billion industry.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's true.
It's a huge industry. The testing procedure is a huge industry.
That's right.
There's articles out there that people have been tested for no reason. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you get you get a false test come in. Guess what? They take you apart and it's all over.
More problems are coming, right? So, folks,
you can tell I'm a little cynical on this deal.
Yeah, well, hey, and that's why I think you're also going to love our second guest today, who's a dear friend of mine. I met him through yoga. He was a student of mine who came to me with prostate disease, who has received this procedure from Dr. Wheeler.
Yes.
So we're going to hear about not only his prognosis today, but also some other really important practices he's invited into his own life to maintain his health.
Right.
And from a holistic perspective, this is useful information to every human being on the planet, but also really insightful for people who are fighting cancer today.
No
doubt. It'd be a really great conversation. So before we dive in, let's do our toast.
Oh, good.
And today we're going back to our traditional yummy green tea. It's an organic warm green tea, which, as we said before, stimulates digestion. It's really good to regulate metabolism. It has antioxidants, which remove free radicals from the blood, which cause premature aging. So we'll raise our glass to each other, to our producers, and to all of our listeners.
To the world.
Yeah,
Beautiful thing.
to the world, to your health.
That's right.
And say Zazdrovia. That's my favorite, or Prost. Salud.
Oh, is that Italian?
Salud, they say,
That's
in many Latin countries, and then
oh, okay.
I studied Russian in college, and so
that makes sense.
The main toast that stuck with me is Zazdrovia. I just like to roll my R's.
That was all that vodka.
Yeah.
That's all that Stoli. That's what that was.
Yeah, we didn't spike the green tea today. Anyway, one other thing I wanted to talk about is a question I got from my sweet grandmother in Texas. small town in Cedar Hill, Texas, which is just outside of Dallas. She asked, why do we say namaste at the beginning of every show? So I thought I would just help our listeners who don't know what namaste means understand why we say namaste.
Yes.
Namaste is a Sanskrit word, which is a greeting, basically, that's still used in India today. So the language of Sanskrit, one of the oldest languages known to mankind, born in the subcontinent of India, and which gave rise to many, many other languages.
Yes.
So in general, namaste, when you say namas, it means to salute, and te means you. So it means I salute you, I honor you.
I bow to you.
I bow to you, which is really, from a yogic perspective, the most important meaning. Because, you know, we put our hands together in prayer, and we literally bow to each other, which is such a beautiful exchange, because regardless of your background in life, or your station in life, whether you're a prince or a servant, in that moment when you bow to each other, it's what yogis say to each other all the time.
It's awesome.
That is, I salute the light in you.
Listen to this. You're gonna this is right. No one knows this yet, so I'll say it right here. Well, my son knows it. He definitely knows it. Bridget knows it too, actually. I've been looking for a name of my boat. I'm naming it Namaste.
Oh, beautiful.
And you know what's awesome? It's yellow, so the black Namaste coming across it will work.
Oh, that is so cool.
It is.
That's going to be gorgeous.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Isn't that cool?
Where do you keep your boat?
Right here.
Oh, well, hello. Somebody has not been taken for a ride. So, the cat is out of the bag, Tom. So have you known anyone affected by prostate disease?
You know, I don't think I have. Well, let's put it this way. I know I must have, because when I was reading everything on Dr. Wheeler's site, it's like 1 out of every 6 men have it.
Yeah,
okay, so there's definitely people I know. I just it hasn't been someone close to me, or you know, I haven't had any losses that I know of. Let's put it that way.
It's pretty shocking, to hear those statistics.
It's a big statistic.
I was just talking with a woman today, and she said her brother was just given a prognosis this week. So I told him to tune into the show. And folks, just in case you know anyone who might need to hear this message or be interested in this information, of course you can have them tune into our local Tampa Bay station, 1340 AM, Tan Talk. But anyone in the world can tune in right now at our website, www.tfnn.com. Just go to the website and click Watch Live. Yeah, so you can. I love that we've got the web TV portion of this broadcast. But, you know, as I say, I lost my mom's stepdad, it was her stepfather, to prostate cancer. And I remember when I was a little girl, him getting this prognosis, and the technology at the time was so unsafe, which, we'll see how far we've come today, that he opted out. He opted not to have what they call a prostatectomy, or removal of the prostate, or surgery.
Because that's when you, that's the biggest one.
That's when
that's
you
the radical
when you
one.
have it removed. And because of the potential side effects, and from everything that we've read today, they're still there. Those side effects and fear of those side effects are still a real danger.
When you get it, it's just like, do you get pain? I mean, I don't even know how this thing works.
Yeah, I think, well, again, Dr. Wheeler's going to be the authority to talk to, but there are certain things that you test for in the blood, and, you know, it's primarily a disease that is usually, there's a caveat to everything, but usually presents itself later in life. I think they say, in general, men over 60 or 65. But so they'll recommend that you start getting tested for certain things in your blood at a certain age.
So they're all the medical society always wants to get tested for everything. We're another sale.
It's true.
I'm gonna get a good attitude, folks.
Well, remember, it's called mindful living. You know, the power of the mind over the body. And let's face it, we talked about this on several previous shows, specifically our show on the benefits of meditation. And the power of our mind to actually cause disease in our body or heal disease in our body. The body-mind connection is a real thing, folks. And if you didn't get a chance to see that show, you should go check it out. Our show on the benefits of meditation. It's on TFNN.com in our archives. And it is, you know what, that we did that show, a month ago? Maybe even longer?
Yeah, longer probably.
And it's still in the news every week.
Well, listen, at Davos, you know, they have the Davos financial deal is the biggest thing that happens in the world. And they had Goldie Hawn was there, you know, doing the deal that, you know, with meditation, and there's 25 classes there, and specifically, folks, what they were talking about, of course, you know, the CEOs and the World Bank is, they need it more than anyone needs it, because the stress levels are huge. You know, timeline, stress levels, all of the above. You know, but it's cool that it absolutely is making it everywhere. Because you can imagine, you know, you're talking 25 years ago, you're talking, you know, just the hippies.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
You know.
And what? Yeah, it's so cool. Goldie Hawn herself is a longtime Buddhist practitioner.
Is she? Okay.
Yes. And so, you know, if anybody could deliver a great speech on meditation, it would definitely be on her. But yeah, I mean, meditation and just mindfulness in general. And mindfulness is a state of mind, right? Mindful, being more mindful of our life, how we're living, our words, our actions, our deeds, even our thoughts. Because as Tom and I just said, the types of thoughts that we're having can cause disease in the body.
You know, last week, Nico and Paige do a health show on Fridays, right? So Friday afternoon, 12 to 1. Great show. If you haven't seen it, folks, check it out. But Nico and I are going across the bridge that night, and we're looking out saying, this bridge never looked the same. We said, we'd be mindful. No, it was hilarious. It really was. It was.
So, folks, I want to welcome our first distinguished guest. We are honored and privileged to have Dr. Ronald Wheeler on the show with us today. Dr. Wheeler is an expert urologist in practice for 25 years, author of the book Men at Risk, and the medical director at PanAm HIFU Institute based in Sarasota, Florida, who's performed more HIFU procedures than any other urologist in the world. Dr. Wheeler, welcome to the show.
Welcome, Doctor.
Yeah, greeting.
Thank you for being here. So, as I mentioned, Dr. Wheeler, this conversation's important to me because I lost my grandfather to prostate cancer. So can you tell us what's happening with prostate cancer? Is it on the rise? And perhaps what are some of the risk factors, or what should we be looking for with the disease?
That's a great question. Certainly it is on the rise, or seems to be on the rise, but I think more than anything, what we're seeing is an increased awareness. Oftentimes this disease is a silent killer, and the only way, the true way to understand what you have is if you're a male in your 30s and above or older, you should get your PSA. I recommend you get it on your birthday, so in and around your birthday, so you do not forget to get it. But lots of new changes going on. High-intensity focused ultrasound is a procedure that is a very, very patient-friendly procedure. Is done as an outpatient, and the bottom line is it in effect, flash fries the prostate, melting the cells and allowing those cells to wash out during normal bladder emptying. And bottom line is that under my watch, all men do very, very well. I want to correct one thing that you said, and that is I have done more HIFU procedures using the two technologies called Sonoblate and Ablatherm, so more of those procedures collectively together than any other doctor in the world. So in that regard, what it does is it allows me to be an expert at understanding the two technologies, having done more than 100 cases on both technologies, and now starting my 8th year of treating. I can mention one thing to you, that we looked at the sweet spot in our procedure, and currently it's not FDA approved, but we hope later this year it will be. But the sweet spot in our study shows that if a male with prostate cancer noted with a biopsy or with MRI, so we can detect cancer without a biopsy, it's done with MRI, and very, very accurate, positive predictive value of 98%. So if a male has a PSA of 8.5 or lower, and we would take any Gleason score, at 6 years we have a 99% cure rate.
Wow. So let me just clarify one of the things you said. So you recommend starting testing PSA at age 30?
That is correct, and that's based on data out of Sloan Kettering, as well as the Detroit autopsy study that shows that 30% of men in their 30s have prostate cancer.
Wow, that's so much earlier than I would have expected. And then the other thing you mentioned is, I have a question actually. Why is the HIFU procedure, or even if you go back to MRI in diagnosing prostate disease, why is it safer?
Well, HIFU is actually MRI is safer than biopsy. Mm-hmm. When you look at biopsy, I think you just have to consider one thing. The Hippocratic Oath says that we must first do no harm as doctors. So given the biopsy is very traumatic to a male. Mm-hmm. It's usually done transrectally, or it could be transperineally, but the process involves sticking anywhere from 12 to 20 to 30 to 40 needles into the prostate.
Wow. Dr. Wheeler, could you please pause there for a moment? This is so fascinating. We're just going to take a quick break. When we come back, folks, we're going to have more from Dr. Wheeler on healing prostate cancer and disease. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
In quiet markets, investors search for new trading opportunities. We'd like to introduce you to a new product that provides opportunities even in flat markets. Nadex, the North American Derivatives Exchange, is a new and innovative Chicago-based exchange registered with the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, and unlike most other exchanges, Nadex allows you to trade directly through them with direct market access when using their trading platform. Nadex never charges a fee to use their platform, which even includes real-time charts and full customization capability. Nadex's unique short-term binary options allow traders and investors to capitalize on strategies even when the underlying markets are quiet. Nadex's innovation has allowed them to come up with a line of unique trading products that are unavailable anywhere else. See how it works at nadex.com. That's NADEX.com, or click on the Nadex banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Futures and options trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for all investors.
No matter where you listen to TFNN programming, we want you to know you can always access your favorite shows on demand through TFNN.com. TFNN airs live programming every market day from 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. Eastern, and you can view each program by accessing Tiger TV through our homepage. We even have an easy link for all mobile devices, including iPhones and iPads, located at the top right-hand corner of the TFNN homepage. You can use your smartphone to view Tiger TV, but if you don't have a mobile connection that can keep up with streaming live video, then you can simply visit TFNN.mobi in the browser of your smartphone for live streaming audio of all of our programs. The mission of TFNN is to educate our audience directly and interactively through our interactive website and radio call and talk shows. TFNN is able to teach all levels of investors the technical skills needed to trade in today's marketplace. In order to get the best information possible, TFNN has assembled the most respected financial minds in the country to provide the most current news and comprehensive advice available. TFNN.com. Educating investors.
We're told to follow our passion and everything else will fall into place. I hope that's what each of you are doing each and every day. Hi, I'm Steve Rhodes, host of the Money Master Show at TFNN.com, and my passion for technical analysis is what led me to the most fundamental discovery in pattern recognition, the Rhodes Momentum Indicator, market scanner, and trading strategy, a set of tools that identify the momentum and power of the trend, the likes of which have never been seen before, for every market and every time frame. Yes, folks, the trend is your friend, unless you're on the other side. New to technical analysis? This is the place to start. And experienced traders take advantage of the trend like never before. Experience the power of the Rhodes Momentum Indicator each day, available to subscribers of my newsletter service, Mastering Probability. I guarantee your satisfaction for the next 30 days unconditionally, so there's no risk to you other than being on the wrong side of the trend. Mastering Probability, available on the homepage of TFNN.com. And folks, live with passion.
Yesterday's gone. Tomorrow's not here. What are you doing right now? Mindful Living with Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien.
Oh, sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah.
Welcome back to Mindful Living, folks. We're here with Dr. Wheeler out of Sarasota, Florida, who's helping us understand prostate cancer. And Dr. Wheeler, we were just talking about I would say, or guess, one of the normal procedures to diagnose prostate cancer, and that's biopsy, which it seems a lot of people have but don't understand the true dangers of. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. In fact, I can tell you that the procedure itself is, again, just riddled with pain, bleeding, infection. We even note that approximately 8% of men that have a biopsy are going to be hospitalized. They could get an infection that will not be taken care of by an antibiotic.
Wow.
We've noted that people have died from this procedure in the past. And in my book, I talk in Chapter 6 about needle tracking, where you stick a needle into the prostate and actually pull cancer cells out of the prostate, and those cells can grow elsewhere, causing problems for that patient and obviously affecting the ability to cure that patient. So MRI using the 3T magnet is really the alternative to that. We see many patients who contact us for a free 25 to 30-minute consultation where we're able to talk about what their choices should be on this path. So clearly I favor MRI over biopsy. It's more accurate because when I play darts, I want to see a dartboard, so I want to know where I'm aiming my dart, or in this case a needle. I don't want to be guessing about where that needle goes.
Right. I mean, the question begs, why isn't this the standard, the MRI testing?
Really, I think it's something we've gotten comfortable with as doctors, and it's really patients that have to rise up now and demand that they get an MRI before they would ever consider a biopsy, if they ever do.
Mm-hmm. Doctor, you're talking about that, at this particular point, the two procedures that you do, I believe you have a place in Mexico and London, correct?
That is correct.
And so, is there a company that's going in front of the FDA right now to get this procedure approved?
Each of the companies, and there's two companies, one out of Indianapolis, which is tied to the Sonoblate model, which is a non-robotic operation or procedure, and the other, which is the one I favor, is out of France, and that is called the Ablatherm, or Ablatherm.
Yes.
Well, yeah, Ablatherm, just kind of like it sounds. And the French, both companies have petitioned the FDA, and right now the French model is winning the war, and it appears that they will get FDA approval prior to the Sonoblate as a primary treatment for prostate cancer. In the Northern Hemisphere, I am the leading treating doctor with the Ablatherm model, and my data is better than anybody else's in the world.
Well, it was incredible. Folks, when you go to his website, It's
PanAmHIFU.com, PanAmHIFU.com, and of course we'll post that for you at TFNN.com.
Because when you go through it, it's really cool in the aspect, and I've already brought this up, that, when you're looking at the prostate in general, folks, okay, it's pretty good size, okay? So what he explains is that, where is it? Because these cancer cells can be very small, right?
Absolutely. Cancer cells are very, very tiny, nanoparticles, if you will. And the bottom line is that if given all that I know, and as a urologist myself, I would never, ever have a biopsy of my prostate if my PSA were elevated. And in my world, an elevated PSA is 1.0 or higher, because 1.0, while it may not indicate prostate cancer, it indicates that the prostate's not healthy.
And a PSA, you can just get a PSA, that's just a blood test, is that correct?
It's a simple blood test. It relates to prostate-specific antigen. Most people know what it stands for.
I see.
But a simple blood test, we ask all adults to abstain from any sexual activity 48 hours prior to getting the test, so that it becomes an accurate test.
Okay.
And for those who don't know, general question, what is the role of the prostate in anatomy?
Great question. The prostate is a lubricating gland during our fertility years. Unfortunately, that fertility gland, if you will, that supplies nutrients during the sexual process to the spermatozoa. Mm-hmm. The bottom line is that the prostate has wrapped around it the nerves that allow men to have sexual activity. The rectal wall is not too far away. Mm-hmm. The ability to keep our pants dry, so to speak, with the sphincter being in close proximity as well. Mm-hmm. All of these things are in jeopardy when we deal with the prostate. In my hands, the only issue is, and there are 5 issues basically, when any procedure, radical prostatectomy, radiation, I don't care what it is, even HIFU, 5 things that could go wrong, and those are impotency, incontinence, bowel injury, inability to get all the cancer, and urethral narrowing or stricture. The only one that takes place in my hands, and this is predictable, so we've never had any of these other problems, the only one that ever takes place is urethral narrowing or stricture, which can be taken care of by a simple office cystoscopy, and all that means is the tissue has not passed as we planned it to pass out, but we have no incontinence, no impotency long term. We have no bowel injuries. A bowel injury is very bad. We have none, and we get all the cancer.
Well, doctor, what is
Amazing.
do they know, I mean, what one of the major causes of prostate cancer?
You know, prostate cancer is generally, certainly it's genetic, and beyond that, it's probably going to be just an act of nature, if you will. It's cells that basically have gone bad. But myself, Michael Caron, and some others really believe that it's inflammation that is the root cause of any cancer, whether it's colon, whether it's stomach, or really pretty much any organ that's tied with inflammation is going to be the root cause of the cancer.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Inflammation.
It's causing a lot
intense.
of problems in the human body, from brain disease to other organ disease.
Right. Now, what is the, you know, what is the, not the rest of the medical community think about what you are doing, but what is their view on the procedure you're using versus what they're using?
Well, there's a lot of competition that goes on, and there's you know, doctors don't sway into new things very easily.
Yes.
They like the old guard. They like the same old way. They'd still have the steam engine if they had their way.
Yes.
The bottom line is that progress is made. Progress has to be made. We have to do better than what we've done in the past. You know, when we do biopsies, as example, we'd have to line up 10 men that all had a PSA of, say, 4 or higher, and out of those 10 men, only 2 or 3 will have prostate cancer, but all 10 had to be subjected to the possibility of having sepsis or septic shock from the biopsy procedure. So we have to get out of that. That's why MRI makes more sense. But in the general feel of things, I would just say to you, doctors really want to debate me, yet when I invite them to debate me, they don't show up.
Yeah, I don't blame them. I wouldn't show up either. No, it's awesome.
Pretty strong argument there. You know, and it's interesting, too, I mean, the statistics you just mentioned about the side effects being avoidable. I mean, that's the reason, again, going back to my grandfather, he opted not to have the surgery because of the possible side effects, and it killed him. It took his life.
Well, the amazing thing is that, you know, just when we just talk about the MRI versus the biopsy, you know, so that, to me, is common sense. And I'm, you know, skeptical about a lot of different things, okay? But that's totally common sense. And your procedure is absolutely, because when you read it, folks, okay, it just, I mean, it totally makes sense to me that instead of, you don't have the atom bomb going in there taking it off. You know, you're an F-18 fighter coming in saying, okay, I think it's here.
Exactly.
Okay, which, you know, is great. So it's intriguing in the aspect of the community, the medical community in general, that, you know, I know the FDA somewhat, and I know how long they can take. So hopefully that will move along quicker than it has.
Dr. Wheeler, what about, can you tell us more about your book, Men at Risk?
My book is really it's a talking point. It allows people to really get to know who I am and what I think in various vignettes that we have in the back in the appendix. Several chapters, in fact, I believe 14 chapters that allow people to really understand the topics of living with disease, possibly living with cancer, prostatitis, how to deal with that, what's the best way to deal with it, why should you deal with it, what you should do about your PSA, a comparative of all treatments. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, what we want to know or tell folks is that there's a limited number of doctors that are very good at this procedure. Many doctors say they do it, but they don't really do it. So patients need to be wary and often ask the doctor, how many procedures have you done?
Right.
So at the end of the day, and then what is the statistics? Tell us the statistics at 5 years or 10 years if you had it that far out. The Canadian experience, as an example, and a lot of people like to price shop, believe it or not, I do not recommend that on health issues. But they go to Canada, and in the Canadian world, their data is absolutely awful. Awful.
Huh. On the HIFU procedure in general?
On the HIFU procedure, and, you know, obviously they have a socialistic look at medicine, and everybody gets cared for, but in that kind of system, the bottom line is people punch their clock, and they in the morning and out in the afternoon, and they really don't have a stake in the outcome. They don't seem to worry as much. I mean, I'm very concerned about my patients.
Yeah.
I love doing what I do, and frankly, I was put on this earth to do what I'm doing now.
That's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. Dr. Wheeler, thank you so much for being a guest today and for all this valuable information. Folks, please visit Dr. Wheeler's website for more information, particularly if you know anybody touched by this disease. It's PanAmHIFU.com. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Thanks for the great education, Doctor.
Thank you very much.
You take a hands-on approach to managing your investment strategy. You're always looking for the next trading opportunity to magnify your perspective. Direction Shares connects sophisticated traders with a powerful array of ETFs from a wide range of asset classes. The markets may go up and down, and you want tools for both sides of the trade. Discover how we can help at DirectionShares.com today. An investor should consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the Direction Shares carefully before investing. The prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction Shares. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus, please contact Direction Shares at 800-851-0511. The prospectus or summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors employing dynamic strategies. Investors in the fund should understand the consequences of seeking daily investment results, understand the risk of shorting, and intend to actively monitor and manage their investments. Distributor, Foresight Fund Services, LLC.
Who says you can't take it with you? TFNN says you can. With your mobile device and TFNN's live radio streams, TFNN has put it all in the palm of your hands. No special apps to download. No subscription fees for live radio or Tiger TV streams. We say you can.
Now let's go over to the dollar, because the dollar is going to be the generator. It is the generator of basically higher dollar, lower market. And what the dollar has done, and this whole uptrend, folks, has just gone sideways. The way it works, folks, is this.
We say you can. The Tiger Financial News Network. Smart investors and professional traders know you can. TFNN.com. Educating investors. Life is a mystery to be lived, not a problem to be solved. Mindful Living with Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien.
Sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah.
Welcome back, everybody, to Mindful Living. You know, I love, Tom, that you have set the standard for educating investors here at TFNN for the last 15 years. And now the information that we're providing today is, in my world, life-changing, potentially life-changing. So I'm hoping that our listeners are finding this information helpful. Again, we're talking about prostate cancer and how to fight prostate disease. And if you know anyone who might benefit from this information, please have them go to our website, www.tfnn.com. Was that a fascinating conversation with Dr. Wheeler?
It absolutely was.
Such helpful information.
Well, particularly because when you're talking non-evasive,
Yeah.
when you're taking much less risk,
Yes.
I'm in the risk business.
Right.
You know, so isn't Rick. You know what I mean? So I like the idea that there's less risk and you have a shot. Okay?
Exactly.
And you know what? And in what that Dr. Wheeler was talking about, that is not small less risk. That's a huge amount of less risk.
Of course.
I'll take 5% less. You're talking about 30, 40, 50%, but Rick can tell us better. But
especially when we're talking about our health. Our next guest, we're being joined by Rick Klepal, who is a senior managing director for Newmark, Grubb, Knight Frank, has an extensive background in institutional level corporate real estate finance, which fits right in right here at our home, TFNN, and more importantly is prostate disease free. Rick, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to join you.
thanks so much, Rick. Appreciate it.
So are you up in Indy right now?
I am.
Staying warm?
Trying to stay warm.
Good. Well, we miss you here in Tampa, Rick. So listen, we want to hear about your story. Tell us, if you will, how you discovered that you had prostate disease and your story from there and your experience with Dr. Wheeler.
Sure. Well, I got diagnosed at what would be considered a very young age for the disease. Mm-hmm. It was about 9 years ago, and I'm currently 55.
Okay.
And it was a routine physical, and my doctor at the time noticed I was below that magical 4.0 PSA reading that kind of the Western medicine threshold is set at, above which they typically will trigger a biopsy. I was still below that number, but I had a rate of change between two physicals over the course of a year, and I was completely unaware of the risks involved that you guys have discussed with Dr. Wheeler with the biopsy and all of that, and I was just sent to a urologist. So I went somewhat blindly, mm-hmm. and that doctor did a needle biopsy, which, if I could do that over, I would not have had that done. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, they found a small amount of cancer. Mm. And I then, that doctor wanted to perform surgery immediately, but I had self-educated myself enough to realize that it was not necessary.
Rick, can I ask you real quick, Rick?
Sure.
You mentioned you had your PSA levels tested, so this was just routine checkups, or were you experiencing any symptoms?
No. In fact, I don't think typically there are much in the way of symptoms with prostate cancer until it's very far along.
Too late. Okay, good to know.
But no, it was just most men, once you go past 40, when you do your blood work, your PSA number will typically, for a general physical, will be part of that blood work.
Oh, thank God. Because I'm so glad you just said that, Rick, because I'm saying to myself, I just don't go to the doctor enough, but I have physicals, so that just relieved me.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
So you had elevated levels, you went for the biopsy, it came back with a little cancer.
That's right. And that doctor, who was a surgeon, wanted to, perform surgery, and I declined, mm-hmm. and I started exploring my options and looking into both the homeopathic and holistic side of healing and health, which, by the way, that was when I started yoga.
Right.
That's 9 years ago.
Okay.
And then I also studied the Western medicine side, and through lifestyle changes, I was able to bring my PSA down and flatline it for what I think was ended up being about 6 or 7 years.
Wow, that's
pretty cool.
But then my PSA began to elevate, which this was a couple years ago, which led me to Dr. Wheeler.
Okay.
And it was about a year and a half ago, my PSA was up to 7.2.
Okay.
And I had the HIFU procedure done about 18 months ago, and it has stayed and remained at about 0.2 after the procedure.
Wow.
Rick, in between that 7 years, what was the change of lifestyle that, you started yoga? What else were you doing?
Well, and Tom, not enough. And today I know to even do more. I just spent 2 weeks at a fantastic place in West Palm Beach over the New Year's called the Hippocrates Health Institute.
Yes. But,
you guys were talking to Dr. Wheeler about inflammation. Mm-hmm. That's really at the core, and it's my belief, which I know you guys have talked a lot about as well, but it's my belief that, it's diet, it's reduction in stress, and the belief, through meditation and your faith, mm-hmm. and then also the power of your belief system.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing what your mind can do, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's really cool. It's
the Hippocrates Institute is a vegan-based living food health institute,
mm-hmm.
and some people choose to go to that full extent, 365 days a year. But even if you do a portion of that and begin to remove some of the less healthful things out of your diet and replace them with live living food, I believe that's a big step in the right direction.
Sure.
Agreed.
The energy in live food is amazing.
Seriously.
There's no doubt.
Right.
You can get the worst live food in the world and it's better than anything else.
Exactly.
And it tastes better than anything else,
Much
too.
better than the processed, quick,
Right.
false food that's so readily available and unfortunately so cheap, so cheaply
Right.
available. So when you went for the HIFU procedure, how long did it take you to decide that you were going to do this once you found Dr. Wheeler?
You know, I think you guys experienced just a little bit of how confident he is.
Yeah.
I went to meet with him. My older brother went with me, and I left that first meeting, and I knew I was going to do it.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And he really was fantastic to work with. I had some, after the procedure, there's about a 2 to 4 week period that you're kind of eliminating the cellular matter that he destroyed and in the process. And he was just, always there for me as I, kind of had some twists and turns in getting through that 4 week period.
What was the downtime after that procedure, and what was your life like? I mean, were you in bed? Did it knock you down at all?
And I think it varies. I did get an infection, which isn't typical. I think a small percentage of the men that have the procedure, so that kind of delayed mine a little bit more. But I was back to doing yoga and running, and I went to work within 2 weeks after the procedure. But I was back to my normal schedule within a month, and here we are, 18 months later, and I think for the last at least a year I've been 100% even better than I was before the procedure in terms of
that's awesome. Congratulations.
all aspects of my life.
Yeah, oh, congratulations. It's so inspirational, and I think for anyone out there who's dealing with this, helpful to know that there are some alternatives out there. So did you have pain after the procedure? I'm sure anyone who might be considering this would have that question.
Well,
besides the not normal infection,
there is a catheter involved for 2 weeks, and so any of the men listening to the program would probably just cross their legs. That's, but that's part of the elimination process. Outside of that, there really wasn't. I was unconscious for about 6 hours while Dr. Wheeler performed the procedure.
Okay.
So, and you have to, I think he had me fast for maybe, it was 24 or 36 hours going into it. So the combination of the drugs used for the procedure,
right,
and then not eating, I didn't feel very good for a few days, but after a couple days I was, kind of getting my old self back.
Right.
Now, did you get it done in Mexico or in London?
Mexico. My sister, she's a vet now, but she was prior to becoming a vet, she worked for about 25 years as a registered nurse.
Yes.
So she came with me, and that was really helpful. And it's a pretty nice experience. For everyone other than the person getting it done. But you stay at the JW Marriott and in Cancun, and Dr. Wheeler has his own suite in the hospital there. So it's fairly state of the art in terms of the accommodations and the hospital room that you go to have the procedure done.
Right. So you felt safe.
Yes.
That's important, especially I think people who are considering, who might have to consider going out of the country, to know that the standards are high.
Yeah.
Well, and you
it
also
sounds like maybe it won't be long, and you'll be able to get it done here, which is
important.
Yeah.
What's really cool, Rick, too, is that you have to be an independent thinker, because I'm sure that when you're speaking with whether it's your family or your friends, they're saying, are you really going to go to Mexico? Why isn't here, right? Did you get that feedback?
Oh, quite a bit.
Yeah.
And, I guess probably to this day, with some of the other lifestyle choices I've made, like the vegan eating and what have you.
Sure.
Right. So, I think each person just has to make those decisions for themselves.
Yeah.
Well, what's great is that, of course, I'm sure when you did the research, the Internet is a beautiful thing. And, of course, we're on terrestrial radio, but on the Internet. And one of our other talk hosts is so cool because And when you just talk about the Hippocrates Health Institute, he was saying he knows it was founded by Ann Wigmore, who's the mother of wheatgrass.
Yes.
Okay, this guy's been taking wheatgrass. We're reading this right now, Rick. Since 2005. So you can see when people are onto health, they're really onto health.
Yeah.
Well, sure, and that was located in Stoughton, Massachusetts, outside of Boston, and if you ever look into the Ann Wigmore story, it's really fascinating. She cured herself of cancer, and then it's really the purpose of the institute is for people to go there and find ways to take better care of themselves. And there are countless examples of people that have reversed stage 4 terminal cancer simply by changing their diet.
That's so important. Dr. Wheeler said the same thing, that we as individuals have to take on more responsibility for our health. And I'd love to hear more about sort of the stages you went through and some of the practices that you adopted just for yourself. Can you tell us more?
Sure. The introduction to yoga, and I've always been devoted to my Catholic faith, but I've kind of integrated that into more of a regular meditation. In my life, and then I guess the biggest one is probably diet.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was just at the institute for 2 weeks, and I went for kind of a tune-up to get back to the wheatgrass and juicing and integrating it more regularly into my life. Mm-hmm. And while I was there, I met some amazing people. I met one woman who is 78. And she was telling me that 18 years ago, in the picture of health, and 18 years ago she was given 3 months to live.
Wow.
And she went to the institute and, through the dietary changes, reversed the cancer that the doctors had basically given up on. And it's, many years later.
And can you give me, I'd love it to hear an idea of what a daily menu would be.
Well, that's the part, because it's fairly expensive to go there.
Yeah, and that's why
they've had some pretty high-profile guests go to that institute. But it's fairly expensive, and then when you consider the food, you start to question your investment. But,
the food or lack thereof.
You wheatgrass every morning, and I do this at home now. It's a small 2 ounce of wheatgrass in the morning, wheatgrass juice, and then just lemon water until midday, and then there are 2 meals a day, and it's the living food concept are based on the sprouting plants. Wheatgrass is one, and then a variety of sprouts like sunflower seed sprouts and radish sprouts, and that's the core.
Yeah, sprouts are a big deal. Right.
And the idea is that nutrition, the nutritional value is dense. It's very high. In fact, it's the most nutritionally dense food on the planet. And it just gets absorbed. The energy of that plant matter gets absorbed directly into your cells.
Right.
And gives your body what it needs to heal itself.
Right. Which makes so much sense. I mean, ultimately, so much of the Western medicine we're using is coming from plants. Ancient wisdom and ancient medical systems all used natural plants as therapy. I mean, we're drinking actually green tea right now, which has been used in Asia for thousands of years for its healing purposes. So even though would you say you were eating less quantity, but obviously much higher quality? How did you feel hungry? How did you feel when you were eating this way?
Allie, that's an interesting thing. During my time there, what happened, and they go to an extreme because they get people for 1 to 3 weeks. So they really want to alkaline the body, and so the food, the vegan food there is fairly extrme. Because it's intended to be a cleanse over a concentrated short period of time.
Yeah.
But a very interesting thing happened about the 3rd or 4th day. You would go through basically this twice a day only salad bar, mostly made up of sprouts, and I would pile the food onto my plate because I think well, I have to be starving. I haven't eaten much in the last 3 days. But then you couldn't even get through it. And then I started to realize that I really wasn't hungry like I would normally be, and it just took less of the food to feel satisfied and fulfilled.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. You brought up the aspect of growing up Catholic and the meditation. And I also grew up Catholic. And it's so cool because I had got asked this question, last week. Because, when you're doing yoga or whatever. And it's really cool because that praying and that faith and that hope and all that, it's all the same. It's amazing, and isn't that really cool, though? I mean, because when people say, hey, we're all one, it doesn't matter, but there is something in that, no matter what faith you are.
Yeah.
It's that faith, it's that peacefulness when that is happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it aids that.
And it's powerful.
Relief.
And it's
So
powerful for the individual. It's absolutely powerful.
It really is, and I've one of the things at Hippocrates is the food is just one part of it. It's a very important part.
Yes.
But they also have a real dedication to the power of the belief system, exercise, and then the whole mind-body connection to health.
Right.
And
so what types of exercise? I know you mentioned yoga. I'm so curious. What were you doing before you found yoga, Rick, as exercise?
Running and playing basketball were the two main ones, and I still run. As you know, Allie, I run before my yoga class.
Right. Yeah. What was it specifically about yoga that interested you?
I think that of the various forms of yoga, and I love all of it, and they can vary quite a bit. But my favorite is Ashtanga, as you know, and
we're all prejudiced
what I like about Ashtanga yoga is it's a little more reverent, and I get a combined benefit of, like, if I run and then practice 90 minutes of Ashtanga. At the end of that, I've satisfied an awful lot of things in my life. I mean, I've kind of had a meditative piece.
Right.
I've had a physical exertion, it's, I don't know how else to say it, it's a fairly efficient way to check off a few boxes and feel good.
Right, yeah. And Dr. Wheeler, again, mentioned that one of the risk factors that's driving disease is stress. So I think that is such an important thing to say. When you were going through the prostate cancer, Rick, did you get involved with or connected to support groups through Dr. Wheeler or elsewhere?
No, not necessarily through Dr. Wheeler, but, and I guess that loops me back around to your earlier question, because that's also what yoga became for me.
Okay.
It became essentially, not 100%, but in a large respect, it became my social network.
Right.
And then, as you know, Allie, like when I went through the HIFU procedure, a lot of my friends from yoga, including you, were really there to kind of help me with, kind of the healing and getting back on my feet.
Yes. And, again, that goes back to what Tom just said, too, that regardless of your faith, tapping into spirituality really, as yoga teaches, just means that we're not alone, that we're all connected. And whether that means you're praying to your God of the Catholic faith or, some other faith, or if it just means you feel connection to something greater than you don't feel alone, and there's so much healing power in that. Rick, I can't thank you enough for being with us today. I know that this information is going to help save so many lives and hopefully just educate people on the options that are out there to help battle and heal prostate disease. So thank you, Rick.
And thank you both.
Thanks so much, Rick. Have a great one. Have a safe one.
Yeah, listen, folks, come back and join us next Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern, when we're talking more about mindful living, how to get healthy and feel good. Visit us at TFNN.com. Namaste.
Namaste, folks.